Hi, welcome back. I thought what I would like to do is a series of videos on a text, a book by Geshe Soepa called Protecting the Lives of Helpless Beings. I've included a link in the description below. You can get that book for free online. It is a book that goes into different canonical sources of Sutra and Tantra, the words of the Buddha, where he discusses various aspects of vegetarianism in the Mahayana sutras, and to some degree from various sutras in the Pali Canon, the Theravada tradition. So I wanted to go through that book, that text, and produce a series of videos on that, really to try to get this information out more widely. For a number of years when I was first studying and reading about Buddhism, I really wasn't aware of a lot of this information, so I wanted to hopefully make this information more available to folks. So I'll be reading portions of the text and then giving some thoughts on it. So in the beginning of the text, Geshe Soepa writes, "All I can hope to achieve here is a clarification of one important aspect of these teachings. Shakyamuni Buddha rejected the consumption of meat, both in the words of the lesser and greater vehicles, both in Sutra and Tantra. In each case, he presented different reasons and types of rejection, laying particular emphasis on the object of rejection, i.e. meat. However, the rejection of meat procured by means of killing innocent creatures with the specific intention of eating them is stated equally clearly in the Hinayana and Mahayana sutras as well as the scriptures of Tantra. I present the reasons and sources systematically." So the first point that he makes then is called rejecting eating meat through reasoning. And he goes on to say, in the 7th chapter of the Angulimala Sutra, a Mahayana sutra as rare as the Udamvara flower, Manjushri asks, "Is it true that the Buddhas do not eat meat due to Buddha nature?" The Buddha said, "It is exactly like that, Manjushri. In the sequence of lives during our beginningless and endless coming and going in samsara, there is no being that has not been our mother, that has not been our sister. Even dogs have been our fathers before. The world of those lives is like a play. Therefore, since our own flesh and that of others is the same flesh, the Buddhas do not eat meat. Therefore, Manjushri, the sphere of all beings is the Dharmadhatu. As this would constitute eating flesh of the same sphere, the Buddhas do not eat meat." So Geshe Soepa goes on to say, "I would like to give a brief explanation of this sutra passage. We find 3 reasons here why Buddhas do not eat meat. The first reason is expressed in terms of the Buddha's affirmative answer to Manjushri's questions as to whether this has to do with the fact that the Buddha nature, characterized by the 3 natural features, is present in the mental continuum of all beings. It is exactly like that. The second reason is this: there is no single being that has not been our mother or father in the process of beginningless and endless coming and going in samsara. And as we ourselves and others are of the same flesh, the Buddhas do not eat meat. And the third reason is that the sphere of all beings is the Dharmadhatu, and eating flesh is the same sphere, and eating flesh of the same sphere is inappropriate." Geshe Soepa goes on to then talk about rejecting eating meat with reference to its disadvantages. He goes on to say, "However, eating meat is also rejected with reference to its disadvantages, disadvantages. Again, in the Angulimala Sutra, the Buddha says, beings that have previously been cats constantly attached to eating meat, and beings that reject Buddha nature will all become rakshas, resembling cats. In the future, too, beings that have taken the form of cat-like rakshas and find killing others and eating their meat irresistible will be the same as beings that have turned away from Buddha nature. Here, eating meat is rejected with reference to its disadvantages resulting from it. So here, Geshe Soepa is talking about the karmic repercussions of finding the consumption of meat to be irresistible. He says that one of the features of karma is, of the ripening of karma, is that the result will be similar to the cause in our actions. So if we find meat eating kind of irresistible, if we have sort of a bloodthirst in this life and we use this life to nurture that, then that will ripen in future lives with perhaps a body that is designed for killing, like a carnivore's body. It will ripen with respect to continued affinity for killing, even if we don't necessarily do the killing in this life. If the nature of our mind is such that we find the flesh of other beings irresistible, then we may, the karma of that may ripen in future lives to have the kind of body that acts out or is capable of acting out that karmic imprint. So here, of course, this is again just the first video in this series, and this particular sutra, these particular passages are talking about what the Buddhas do rather than what people who are training in the path might do. But if Buddhists are trying to become Buddhas, then I think that this is relevant. This information is relevant in terms of this is the ideal. This is what we are striving to achieve, to accomplish. And then, of course, later in this text, there will be other explanations given that maybe more directly impact people who are training in the path and what should guide their behavior and why. And as I will address throughout these videos, in my mind, once you lay the foundation of vegetarianism as evidenced by wanting to move closer to the energies of love and compassion that equally embraces all sentient beings, then I think you can easily apply that same approach, that same reasoning in the modern 21st century context of what happens to farmed animals in the dairy industry, in the fur industry, in the entertainment industry, in the dairy industry, the chicken industry, egg-laying chickens, and so on. All of these industries that aren't directly related to vegetarianism, I believe that the spirit of what is discussed in this text and in these videos, through logical extension, through reasoning, would apply just as equally, just as validly to issues that the Buddha perhaps 2,600 years ago wasn't able to observe in the world because things have changed, things have gotten much worse with respect to these things. And so I think that we as 21st century spiritual seekers, people interested perhaps in Buddhism, have to use our own common sense and our own reasoning and apply and extend the essence, the meaning of these teachings to a different context. So a lot of the videos on this channel may not necessarily apply to people who don't have a particular interest in Buddhism, but that's what I can offer to the conversation. There are many, many other channels where other aspects of veganism are discussed. So that this is going to be the main focus of this channel, will be looking at the role of wanting to develop greater love and compassion as presented in Buddhism, and how that logically fits in with abstaining from animal products. So this is just the first video in this series. There will be a number of others coming. So I look forward to having further discussions with everyone on these topics. I appreciate everyone's time. So thanks very much. I will see you guys soon.